Okay, welcome to the third episode of the How to Build a Black Nation with Power podcast. This podcast is about understanding and bringing together the many pieces of our empowerment and freedom puzzle under one roof to ensure we don't become a permanent underclass in the country that was built on the backs of our ancestors. Taking into consideration what our people have done and what so many are currently doing, our empowerment and freedom march is most certainly not starting at square one. The podcast is titled How to Build a Black Nation with Power because we want our people to understand that there are different pieces to making this thing a reality. We have to have a foundation that we can build upon that's been a proven foundation as much as possible. We have to have leadership that knows what it is doing or know what they are doing in the various areas as relates to nation building. And then, of course, we have to have a spiritual connection with one another and a higher power as we seek to move forward. So what we're trying to do with the podcast is get our people not only to understand that there are several pieces to this thing that we must bring together as much as possible if it's going to work. And most importantly, those pieces are out there. There are Black people out here doing some phenomenal things on some phenomenal levels. We simply need to find them, connect with them, and build moving forward. And two of our greatest issues is simply that we're not connected and we're not organized. So we don't know about the many pieces that we have because we're not connected and we're not organized. And of course, that's what the Black Gold Nation is trying to do. One of the persons that I talk about as far as one of those Black people out there functioning at a very high level is tonight's guest for the show, Brother Cary Jr., who is the National Director for the Black Gold Nation's Agriculture and Food Systems Economics Department, as well as the National Director for our Infrastructure and Construction Department. So tonight, we're going to focus on the agricultural aspect of Brother Cary's resume. So Brother Cary, thank you very much for taking the time to have a conversation with me this evening. I sincerely appreciate it. I know you are actually on the road visiting family for the holidays, right? Are you in Tennessee?
Mississippi? Georgia.
Georgia, okay. All right, yeah, so you're actually traveling, right?
I'm sorry, say it again?
You're actually traveling.
Well, yes.
Okay,
Cool.
Cool.
I've always been family with the holidays.
Amen. So I appreciate it. So a bit about Brother Cary before we get started. Brother Cary Jr. is a founder and general manager of SIMPA, Southeast Michigan Producers Association. The organization was established to assist small rural African Americans / underserved producers outside of Detroit in collaborating to build their capacities and provide fresh produce in the food insecure areas in the city. The group began with 7 farmers with the potential of incorporating 25 farms with over 1,000 acres in the Detroit region. SIMPA coordinates training, marketing, and processes necessary to develop a local food system. Brother Cary has been actively promoting SIMPA's efforts around the country through presentations at food and farming conferences. His objective is to bring awareness to the obtaining food sovereignty to our most vulnerable populations with local farm systems. He holds degrees from Morehouse College, the University of Michigan, and Dartmouth College's Tuck School of Business, Executive ED. Is that Executive Education? What is that? Executive ED?
That's Executive Education for
okay,
business,
cool. Okay.
Small business.
Cool. All right, brother, we're gonna get right into it. So first question, per the brief bio I just read, is there anything that you'd like to add or something that I left out per your bio that you want people to know?
No, other than the fact I've worked in probably the last 18 years in economic development, trying to work with a small Black community, figure what we could do to enhance, how we can enhance the viability of that community and also empower the people with jobs, things of that sort. So this all comes together, what we're doing here with SIMPA.
And those 18 years were in Detroit?
Yes, yeah, I was a planning commissioner and director of economic development for a small Black township right outside of Detroit.
Okay.
And being in that position, gave me a chance to get out, find out what information resources were available, for our community to try to make it a better place. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, that gave me a lot of knowledge and encouraged me to want to do more as it pertains to trying to whether it's food systems or any kind of economic development opportunity to help our people in our communities.
Okay, awesome. All right, so you went to college to be an engineer. So what kind of engineer were you trying to be? Why engineering, and how did you go from engineering to the agricultural space?
Well, I'm a civil engineer by degree and profession. because civil engineers, pretty much, with engineers in general, what we do is we identify existing resources, in that case, natural resources, and try to figure out ways to help resolve problems that we have in the community. Civil engineers, again, we're responsible for the roads, the bridges, your water systems, the things that you need every day, that the structural for building things. So we're pretty much an essential person in our country. You don't hear about us, but because we talk about money, but civil engineers are I think, very critical, to improving our society.
Okay. So why did you want to be a civil engineer from the beginning?
Well, I've always had interest in structures, and actually architecture, but I realized I wasn't necessarily interested in the design of the building. I was more interested in what makes it work.
Okay.
And that's the difference between architect and engineer. Architect puts the idea on paper, but the engineer, you got to make sure that it actually can function.
Okay.
So as an engineer, we're the ones that actually do the meat and potatoes of any type of project to make sure they can work and sustainable. We're the ones making sure that the building don't fall on you once it gets built.
Right.
That type thing. So, and my focus was on structural, what we call vertical building, which is high rises or anything above the ground. That was where my interest was. Of course, we have subways. You could do subways. You could do water systems, like I said. You could do tunnels. There are different areas in which we get involved, but my area was interested in doing buildings.
And you went into that facet of engineering because you've always been into structures. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, just building stuff for the community to make your city a better place. And I think I've also been very fortunate. I'm probably one of the few civil engineers that's actually done everything from subways to highways to buildings, to hospitals, or to industrial plants. Things that. So I've done them all. Most people usually stay in one area and specialize in one particular area. I've had a chance to get exposure and all those. That's rarely not, and I'm pretty proud about that.
Okay. So I have asked brother Craig lead this question, and brother Craig is our chief consultant over our political strategy and implementation department. He's also over our adult education division. I've asked him we've had conversations about the different skill sets that are needed to run a city, because of course our main goal, our ultimate goal, is putting Black people in a position by which we can run municipalities, run geographic space in this country. Because if we can control the space, then most of the things that happen to us won't happen because we'll be in control of it. So
absolutely,
in my many conversations with Brother Craig, I've asked him what kind of skills, and I'm asking you this question, Brother Cary, what kind of skills, since you just broken down what a civil engineer is, which I did not know, what kind of skills are needed if one wanted to politically mobilize and organize Black people, grassroots Black people to vote the right leadership into power? What kind of skills will we need to do that and build upon that municipality to make it bigger and better? So from if civil engineering is the base, what else would we need?
And I'll keep it simple for you. It's just you want to have the ability or want to figure out how something works.
Okay.
Regardless, whatever it is. You want to understand how that system put in place. So you have to go and observe, read or what have you. We're talking about political system. We're talking about building, anything else. You have to go out and want to take the initiative. You have to take the initiative to figure out how things work. When you talk about a city, what I found out before to being a civil engineer, and also was all part of it, the city manager, the planning commissioner, the city manager, planning commissioner, and the water system people are really the three key people.
Okay.
Because those are the people really going to produce or either have the jobs for people in any city. The mayor is just a person that's set in place to help. The mayor and the city council, they just vote to determine what money goes where.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would say like the water sewer person, like I said, the city manager, because they're going to control all the budgets where things go. Mm-hmm. And like I said, and then the urban planner, which we do have a lot of people in urban planning, because they determine how you're going to design the city and what's it going to look like in the future.
Okay.
And that's why every city creates what they call a master plan.
Right.
And I tell people, if you want to know what's going on in your neighborhood, you can find out what area is going to be targeted gentrification just by reading your master plan. Okay. The master plan has to be put in place, and it has to give a projection for 20 years.
And that's public information?
What's that?
And that's public information?
You go. the public's supposed to go to the meeting. They have a hearing, and the planning commission has a hearing for the public to go to sit and review and ask questions on before they approve.
Okay.
So everything is put in front of you, but again, most of us aren't aware that's what we need to do.
That's right.
And again, like I said, with me getting experience, what I found out, the stuff is right in our face. But if you're not understanding that's what you need to do, or people aren't telling you that's what you need to do, we don't go.
You're not gonna do it. Yeah, you're not gonna do it. Yeah.
And I say the same thing when it comes to the school board. Unfortunately, they become politically the wrong way. But if you want to know what's actually going on and how the money's being spent and where you're going to spend, you have to go to those meetings because they're getting the money and they're supposed to spend it the way you want them to, the way you think it's best to do in your community.
Right.
And I can say it and I can share with you, and I don't want to segue. One of the things I built a lot of, I'm expertise in building schools, but I was building schools in the suburbs.
Okay.
But I can tell you, every time there was a board meeting, those people showed up. Those rooms were full of people.
That's right.
Whereas when you go into the urban areas, they can barely get parents to come to those meetings.
Right.
And it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. But people can't see it. But I tell you, those things make a difference. That's why things happen in certain areas, in certain cities, more than they happen in others.
Okay. All right. So it's interesting that you bring up that master plan. Again, something I didn't know. We're not even fully through the first 5 questions, and I've already learned two new things, which I have. We know question number 2B. I was talking to brother. I'm sorry. Were you about to say something?
No, I was going to say, well, see, that's part of the infrastructure part that follows, but it's still this all merges together. But that's all part of the infrastructure piece. When you mentioned what I'm working with doing BGN,
yeah,
the whole infrastructure piece, understanding those pieces are there. All you have to do is figure out what you want to get done, and then when the funding comes through, or when you solicit for the funding, you know where to spend it. And again, like anything else, you need to make sure the money gets spent from people, right, in the community, so that so we take advantage of those dollars. Tell everybody else.
So I was talking to another supporter of the movement, Brother Lloyd Ford, who is active here in the political and business space in Houston, and I called him this morning because we are looking at getting our first physical space. It'll be the national headquarters in Houston, and I was asking him. I said I don't want to target a particular area of the city for where we want to be and where we want to be active to help Black people, if someone else has already targeted this area for gentrification. Yes. So per what you just said, I should be able to go downtown, city of Houston, ask for a copy of the master plan, I guess, and see what the plans are. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it actually should be online. You should be. Most cities put them on. If you plug and look for it under city development, you should be able to find it online. Okay. And I can tell you right off the bat, the places where gentrification, growth and gentrification, but any place where you're building a new rail system.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Any place where you build a new highway.
Oh yeah. For sure.
Yeah, like I said, so right off the bat, or anytime if some major entity is coming in town and want to plop somewhere because everybody else is want to plop around.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and the evidence, what you just said, as far as the railway systems, that is most certainly something that I have been seeing in the inner city, where the Shrine had a lot of its property along MLK Boulevard. There's a railway train right down MLK Boulevard, and along with that, when you start seeing white people coming out and planting trees, you also know that something is about to happen. So okay, all right, so you got it.
And then when you see the first one jogging or walking the dog, that's it. That's it. They've already taken it over. Yeah, it's already done. Yeah.
It's like once you see that one roach, you know what's upcoming. Not to call people roaches. All right, so you got into engineering because you were always into structures and
economic development.
And economic development, yes, sir. So how did you go from there to the agribusiness part of the agriculture? How did you get?
Well, again, as the economic development person in my little township, we were trying to figure out what can we do just trying to spark some kind of economic activity.
Okay.
I'm interested in trying to get small business and things like that going. So, I guess, the whole thing came out about food insecurity in different neighborhoods and stuff. And they talked about how bad it was in Detroit. And I looked at where we were and I said, you know what? So the big thing was farmers market. Let's create these neighborhood farmers markets.
Okay.
So I said, you know what? Because I was fortunate. I was on a board where I had influence. Mm-hmm. I was downtown development. So I convinced them to set aside, $10,000, $15,000 for us to run a little farmers market. And they said, okay. Okay. So the whole idea was to, again, bring healthy food in the neighborhood, in the community, even though we did have a grocery store not too far away. But I was also trying to hope that we would get vendors who would be small entrepreneurs, give them a chance to, bring their product out.
Yeah.
While we were selling produce. And that's really how it started. Unfortunately, I tell you, because I didn't have money for salary, so I had to get volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
And relying on volunteers, it was a great challenge. So we didn't last. The farmers market only lasted a couple of years.
Okay.
But it's interesting, once it stopped, certain people will see me, some of our lawyers, they would say, hey, when you guys gonna get this thing going again? When you gonna get the farmers market going? I mean, I got asked it all the time, which told me we must have had some kind of impact, even though I don't think, in other part of it too, kind of disappointed me. We didn't get support from people right in our little community. Most of our support came from people from neighboring. They would drive by from the city of Detroit or the neighboring suburb. And they saw us, they would stop by, and they would buy stuff. So again, I was trying to understand the mindset of what people are thinking about when you have products, you're trying to have healthy food, you're trying to have a farmer's market. But the first thing I'm saying, you would think that the community would support it. Yeah. But it didn't. So like I said, I had to rethink a lot of that part, and plus trying to manage it with labor and things of that sort. So that's how we start.
So why do you think people? Well, two questions. A, the first one: why do you think people locally didn't support it? And B, I really want to know how you were able to start a farmer's market with $10,000. So why do you think people didn't support it, and how did you do that with $10,000?
Well, fortunate. One of the colleagues, which is part of our group, was a distributor of produce. Okay. So he was able to provide us the produce that we needed. The $10,000 did help pay for the canopy, pay for the tent and the tables, and that stuff. And then and also we were able to pay to get the EBT SNAP machine. Okay. Which was kind of interesting. In our county that we're in, which is one of the wealthiest counties in the country, when we got that machine, there were probably 20-something farmers markets in the county, and we found out we were only one of two farmers market that actually offered the EBT, which is get people a food stamp. Right, sure. To get that stuff. We were the only two farmers market, and the other one was way up in the northern part of the county, which is predominantly white. So I didn't understand. Well, but I found out later what it was. Those farmers markets were looking for a particular type of customer.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, okay. But unfortunately, even when we having that, it took a while for me to get some of the local people to come by and come in. And then we found out too, that whole system where it's set up, it ended up costing us more, to run that system. But I don't go off on. But we had our challenges with the farmers market, but I learned a whole lot. But what spilled over to Simple is that some of our regular customers, who mostly were seniors, and which was really interesting, they would come by and they would talk about the history of them working. Most of them came from down south. And they talked about the history of when they were kids, how they used to work in the farm. Okay. And that was some very interesting stories that come on. Even two of them came in and they asked us, we had some greens one time. They asked me, "What are these greens from Georgia or South Carolina?" I'm looking,
I don't know.
I'm like, I don't know, but they're looking at the greens. They're saying, no, these came from such and such, because they knew a lot of the technical stuff. That would really impress me. Yeah. And then the other thing is, when the seniors came, one would be that others would see up, they would drive by, so they would stop by. So it became like a little gathering spot. Okay. So those are the two key things I like about it. But later on, what happened? Then one or two of them asked us about were we sourcing our product from Black farmers. And again, I've talked to my distributor, the guy I'm dealing with, and we said, well, no, we weren't, because he didn't have access, at least enough access at the time. So long story short, we did research with another colleague of mine who was starting a farmers market in another Black rural area, a Black urban area in Detroit, outside of Detroit. So we got together and we found out there was a group of Black farmers that they were semi-organized, but most of them have been coming to where we have our main market called Eastern Market in Detroit to work. But it was becoming a challenge to them because they would come and try to sell a product. They drive 50 miles in, and usually they weren't able to sell it for whatever reason. And then ultimately their market started, when they got on the new management, they started gentrifying the market. Oh, wow. So they pretty much pushed the Black farmers out. So they were a little angry about that.
So quick question, Brother Cary. The farmers market, were you guys bringing food into the farmers market to sell. You guys it wasn't grown by local people. It was brought in from other places. Correct?
Yeah, right. But
okay.
My distributor actually had a relationship because I want to go a long story, but he and his partner used to actually import products from black farmers down south. They would go in their truck, go down south, pick up products and bring it back to Detroit.
Gotcha.
And they used to do it. They did it for years, but they didn't do it in a very organized, structured way.
Okay.
So it actually ended up falling apart. But anyway, he had relationships where he was able to get products from local farmers in Michigan, and plus he had a relationship at the big warehouse where stuff comes in from all over the place and get it. So that's how we were pretty much that's how we began. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the whole idea is too, we had to realize and think about if we're going to try to provide something, we got to have enough capacity to do it.
Right.
And can we find farmers that can do that? But going back to Simple, like I said, we had these guys who were out there, they're growing products, they're growing some good stuff, but they didn't want to come into the city. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they were doing it as a hobby. Most of them were retired or worked for the auto or the post office or whatever. So they had jobs and they retired. So they were farming for fun.
Yeah.
But they brought that up from the skill from when they came up from down south. So we had farmers with 10, 15 acres. At one time they were growing greens or growing whatever they're going to grow. But now because they're older, they're not growing as much.
Right.
So those are the guys. So I was able to convince a few of them to let us organize so we can work as a group to help them get stuff done. Because, again, if you're working as a group or cooperatively, it's easier to get stuff done than trying to do it all by yourself.
That's right.
In other words, if one guy has a big tractor that everybody needs, and they work out there where they can share that tractor with all the farmers. That's easier than each other guys trying to find a way to get it done.
That's right.
And the same thing with other issues with labor and things like that. So that was the whole idea behind Simple, just to try to get those rural farmers to kind of get themselves together. Let's figure out what we need to do and what resources out there can help them build capacity. And then the whole idea is, like I said, we got plenty of food deserts in the city of Detroit, different places where we don't get healthy food. So I think let us try to create farm stands, but the gentleman who does distribution does farm stands. So he wanted to place farm stands in these different neighborhoods, but he was selling watermelons anyway. So the whole idea was to take the product from our farmers, take it to these farm stands and try to sell it in the neighborhood and see where it can go. So that's the infrastructure of the preliminary part of Simple and the first food system.
So would you say that the food that you guys were selling, was it superior to what was sold in the nearby grocery store?
Well, most of the stuff our guys grew, what we call was naturally grown. They used all traditional natural principles. Okay. Most of the stuff you get in a grocery store are conventional. So you don't know what chemicals are being used. You don't know, what products are being used, what process is being used. Yeah. But you don't know where it comes from in general, but you know it's there. Okay. That was the biggest thing we were pretty much trying to hype. Now keep in mind, there are certain things we couldn't grow bananas. There are certain things we just know we can't grow in our region, so we will have to get them from somewhere else. Right. But some of the stuff like greens and tomatoes, things of that sort, they did grow them. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, when we did get stuff from local farmers or southern farmers in our farmers market, all of it would sell out in the first hour. It would sell out right away. If people know we have it, they come get it. Okay. Because they know. Again, they understand, especially if they come from a black farm, first they're trying to support that. Yeah. Secondly, they know they're using natural practices in growing. So that was never a problem, trying to sell a product. The problem is having enough of it. Right, right.
And the farmers market was open, I'm assuming, just on the weekends or just on Saturdays?
We just open on Saturdays from like 8 in the morning to like 2 o'clock. Okay. Like 2 o'clock. And we would sell out all the local stuff in the first hour. Right. So the other stuff that we had, by the end of the day, we would usually get rid of it, most of it. Okay. Stuff like greens, watermelon, tomatoes didn't last. It was gone. Okra, if it showed up, it was gone.
And you said that lasted about 3 years?
What's that? The farmers market, 2 years. 2 years. Okay. I tried to start it that third year. Let's see, but when I lost my one of my key volunteers, like I said, I couldn't get money to pay anybody. Yeah. And I thought that maybe we'd get other people to come out. I did get a couple more people come out as vendors and wanted to vend out there, and so that was great. But unfortunately, we weren't getting the traffic that we thought we could have gotten at that time. So it was a learning lesson. Okay, all right. So
the last part to that particular question, if you could do it all over again, what would be one major thing that you would do differently if you could do it all over again?
Well, the first thing is I realized We don't want to do a farmer's market. We want to do a 6 to 7 day a week storefront produce market, which is what we are working toward.
Sure.
Because one of the problems I found out, some people told us they couldn't make it on Saturday. No. The second thing is, if it's open, again, if it's open 6 to 7 days a week, people know you're there and they'll come and get the product.
Right.
And but before we can do that, we got to make sure we got the capacity. We got to make sure we're going to have stuff in. So people can come get it once they know you have it.
Right.
I've heard some stories in the past how stuff when people doing things, they try to make it work. And my colleague was sharing, he said, man, when I would bring stuff up like muscadine from, so he had white people from the suburbs coming driving down 20 miles to come get the stuff from him when they found out he had it.
And what was he bringing up? You said mustard green?
Muscadine from Georgia.
Oh, muscadine?
Muscadine is muscadine is like a grape. It has a real thick skin, but it has a lot of medicinal properties to it.
Oh, okay.
And there are a lot of other products. There are a lot of other food things, like I said, that you don't see typically going to the store, because again, we don't control what goes in our stores. We let other people control.
Okay.
And that's one of the things we want to do. We want to bring a lot of things that we know, at least I know our history, our grandparents and stuff were aware of.
Right.
They can come get it. They can have access.
You and I specifically, we are going to revisit that produce market because that's something that I really need to know more about, and I need to understand how you're doing it so I can duplicate it here as I follow your lead. So we need to.
That's one of the reasons why. That's one of the reasons I was asking you information, because that's one of the. If we're going to come down, that's the first thing. That's the first thing that's got to happen.
Okay.
That's the first thing we got to try to make happen.
Cool. All right, let's get on with the interview. All right, question number 3. We're killing it.
We'll move for it.
No, that was my fault, because I went off on not a tangent, but everything is relevant. I just, you're saying things that I'm learning as I'm interviewing you, which is cool. So I just got to ask questions. That's the whole point. All right, question number 3. Do you see food security or food sovereignty as the greatest need we have as a people and or as a nation?
I see it as one of the. I think it's one of the key issues.
Okay.
But we have to look at food sovereignty from the economic development perspective. We typically look at it from the healthy food side, which is what the powers that be want us to do. Yeah. But we got to look at it from the economic development side too. If you're going to buy something, we want to see, well, why can't we produce it ourselves? Why can't we, sell it to ourselves? That kind of thing. So we have to look at both of those. Yes. Okay. I do see that. So keep it in mind. I'm sorry. Keep it in mind. What the 5 essentials are is food, water. Well, first 4: food, water, clothing, shelter.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying the food is going to be essential. Right. And food is one of the areas that I think I've shared before, is that we can control the whole thing. We can grow it, we can process it, we can sell it ourselves if we want to. Yeah. And probably clothing as well, but that's kind of gotten in a different thing. But yeah, food, that's why I said it is one of the key essentials. But we just got to figure out how to not only figure out how to do it for ourselves, but look at it from an economic perspective. Okay.
And looking at it from an economic development side, that simply means how can we grow it ourselves? Yeah. Make it monetize it and make a profit from that ourselves, and then go from there. That's what you mean, correct?
Yeah, right. Okay. And create your jobs from it, create your own jobs from it, create all your whatever products from it. Everything you can create for yourself, but the money comes back. The key to my whole thing in economics, the money got to come into us instead of us spending money out. Right. And with food, you can do it. And not that's what we did 50 years ago. Sure. Yeah. We had to do it. We had to. Didn't have a choice. And that's why I'm saying all of the stuff that we're talking about now is nothing new. It was done before, but we've been sort of, I'm saying, talked out of, tricked out of it, so to speak. So anyway, yes. So you started SIMPA because of what you were trying to do with the township you were attached to, but what you just said has since you started SIMPA, have you realized the importance and magnitude of what you did as it relates to what you just said? So it seems like you started for one reason, but the more you did it, you realize, wow, there's a lot more here. Okay. Right. Not only are we talking about creating healthy food in my neighborhood, but now we're talking about empowering Black farmers. That's right. And so now we're not talking about my city. We're talking about the city of Detroit, which is 100 times bigger and much greater demand. And actually, the whole metropolitan area is a huge demand for it. So yes. So the opportunity is there. We just have to make it work. We have to put the pieces together ourselves to try to make it work. There's a huge demand for what specifically? Healthy food.
Okay. Sure.
In healthy food in the neighborhood. You know, you can get, well, I don't go think you can get, again, you can buy a product in the store. It's going to come from wherever Cisco or whatever the main stores want you to have, because they're going to get it from however they can get it and get rid of it. And I hate to say it, when it comes to the cities, we get the last tier of everything. You don't get the top fresh. You get the, you know, in a lot of cities, a lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
But that's usually the case.
Okay.
But yes,
so
we create our own, we sell ourselves, etc.
Amen. So what is your long-term vision for Simpa?
What Simpa is going to be the catalyst of us creating this dynamic international food systems, where we're going to be empowering first farmers in whatever area they're in, where there's a demand, where there's a lot of our people that need to eat, feed those areas first, and then, in a sense, where they have supplement, we'll take what's left and we'll feed the Caribbean, and then the same thing, we'll go overseas to the continent of Africa.
Gotcha.
That's the big picture.
Overseas to where?
Africa.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Caribbean, Africa.
I got you. Okay, cool. Okay, all right. So Simpa as of right now focuses on Southeast Michigan.
Yes.
And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm asking anyway. So can what you are doing there in Southeast Michigan, in that part of the country, can that benefit and or be duplicated nationwide?
That's the intent. We're trying to create that pilot here. So, because people always say it can't happen, we want to show that it can happen. And once we put the piece together, you know, we learn all the, you know, get all the bells and whistles straight, we can go to any other metropolitan area and do the same thing. We are actually personally right now looking at the Midwest.
Okay.
Overall, I mean, we're looking at Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit, and I'm already in Milwaukee. And I'm in discussion with people who are doing some farming, because right now, really, there's a huge demand. You know, again, everybody in the Midwest have some roots in the South. And like I was sharing with you, what my experience in my farmers market, there are a lot of people, if you bring product up from Black farmers down South, I mean, that, you know, that's what they will want. But at the same time, if we have local farmers trying to make an effort of growing stuff, you know, we want that to happen too. We want, you know, anybody who wants to get in this whole agricultural movement to be able to succeed. Of course, we'll start locally first, and then we'll branch out. And I will also talk. Mostly I'm talking rural, but we're talking urban as well. Okay. There's a lot of effort, depending on how you do it. That urban farms now are going to be something we think will be in the future. From one standpoint, most of the crop is going to be indoor type growing, you know, as opposed to on a lot. Because, you know, you can't grow enough watermelon on a parcel in a city, but you can grow spices and things of that sort. But the whole idea is you can grow up vertically, which is what happened in a lot of these hydroponic type systems and the indoor systems that's going now. You can produce a lot and make you can make a lot of money doing it. Okay. I'm glad you. Go ahead. Now I'm going to say there's a book out, and I've written by a man of color. It said how to make $100,000 on a quarter acre. Yeah, and so I mean, this is growing. He's growing crops in his backyard, and how he was able to make money doing. What I'm saying is that kind of thing is possible if you have the right things in place and the right system. Right. Okay. I'm glad you brought up the Midwest, because that was the next question. So what is the state of the Midwest in the country, America's breadbasket or food basket, as it relates to agriculture? What is the condition and the state of the country as it relates to how it used to feed America? Well, you got to remember, when they talk about it, first they're talking about the big giant food industrial complex. Yeah. And also you got to realize most of the stuff in the Midwest they're talking about is commodity stuff. They're talking about wheat and corn, soybeans and cattle, that kind of stuff. They're not really talking, specialty crops, green, tomatoes, and that sort. And that stuff is coming from California and Texas. Okay. So, but they grow a vast of the corn and soybean stuff, and I'm sure you're aware that's why most of the foods they try to put those products in the food products to make that product. So when they grow it, it just make it valuable. Yeah. But the most of the stuff they grow, like I said, it's not really that specialty food stuff. Now, when you get into the livestock, it's a little bit different. You got cattle, you got pigs and stuff like that up in the Midwest. But when they talk about the bread basket, they're talking about the wheat for bread, and the corn, soybeans, stuff like that. So when they talk about that, to me, I don't ever really look at that as it pertains to us or what we're trying to do. And even if we create a system in the Midwest those areas are there, but those areas I told people we shouldn't focus on those. Most of our farmers, black farmers, the large black farmers, had to grow those products because those are the only places where they can make money on all their land. So they have to grow corn and soybeans, for the bigger corporations with mine.
Right.
But now, if we create our own network where they can grow products and fit in our system, they would do that as well. I think they'd probably be more inclined to want to do that.
Okay.
All they want to know is when they grow something, they can be able to sell it.
Yeah. I mean, because that's the whole point. It's a business, so I get that. Now, often when you and I speak, or even when I speak to Brother Quabbin, or even other people who are in the agricultural space, I always hear the conversation is always around fruits, vegetables, potatoes, things of that nature. But I rarely hear anybody talking about meat. I don't eat meat, but black people do. Chicken, beef, pork, or whatever. So is that also a part of the agricultural system that we need to build? Because I rarely hear that part of the conversation.
Absolutely. It's just that with the produce, again, we figured we could start with the produce. The meat would be next. Okay. And actually, we need to move fast because I'm involved in some of the policy stuff. What they're going to be coming out of the next farm bill is money to help build small meat processing centers, because they found out with COVID, when us relying on this big system, as you know, we had all these shortages. Yeah. But we had a lot of these small farmers who had stuff, who wanted to go to, I guess you said, a local processing place. In other words, I'd say right now, these guys are telling me they have anywhere from a 6-month to 8-month wait to get their meat processed. Okay. Because of the backup right now. Okay. And so now the U.S. government looking at how to build more small meat processing. And see, that would be an advantage to us, because I want to get us in position so we can get in and start applying to get some of this funding to help our small black farmers, so they can get their products in our own system. Like I said, they can move their stuff. And again, that breaks us from there, but also it'll help strengthen our system to start out first with produce. But absolutely, meat, and even I take it, we eat meat, but another meat people don't think about more is lamb and goat, because most of our immigrants that come here eat lamb and grain, and there's a huge demand for lamb and goat. 4 years ago, if you wanted to start a goat farm, they had a grant for it. Okay. I'm saying, and there were some black people I know to try to get into it. But what I'm saying is, it's the same system. You can grow them, but you still got to go to the other people to get a process if they're processed for you. Right. And I'll throw this in right quick. One of my colleagues in South Georgia, I'm hoping to meet with him in a couple of weeks. He has a cooperative of farmers, and they're cattle farmers. Okay. And their biggest problem is they don't want to go to the meat processor, because the meat processor want to give them 50 cents to $1 less a pound than he's paying the white farmer. Okay. See, and that's the kind of stuff that, again, until we create our own system, we want to deal with that kind of stuff. Right. That's why our farmers in general, anytime they grow products that you're trying to sell to somebody else, and you don't know, you'll find out later on that they're paying you less per pound or whatever a bushel, your product, than they paid the white guy that came. Go ahead. No, I'm saying no. So I'm just saying that's the kind of, and see, that's where we need a USDA to step in, but that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have a question about the USDA, but it's a few questions down. So let me let me get through because what you just said, as far as the you said the micro meat processors, or what you said, right? Yeah. You're talking micro. So when I get to the USDA question, I want you to add what you just said to that, because the question pertains to how we have been treated and when it comes to the USDA, but we'll get to that later, further down. Okay, so you said as it relates to America's bread basket or food basket, when they talk about that, they're talking about the commodities, the wheat, the soybean, the corn, things of that nature. I have always, over the past few years, I've seen articles here and there in that America's bread basket is failing. That is not the case, I'm asking. Oh no! Again, I think because of the way they set the system up, and a lot of those big farmers are having problems. Okay. And then it didn't help when your former president cut that tariff, because that's where they're trying to find markets outside the U.S. Okay. They're already, they make enough stuff to feed the U.S. in those particular categories. So they're trying to find those markets to go to. So it's a lot of problems where in the industrial complex where you got the federal government, USDA, trying to help subsidize these guys. These guys are trying to, they're trying to make the money on it because they're corporations, they're profit, they're supposed to profit from it. But at the same time, I think that the market for the stuff is dropping anyway. I think in the US, a lot of the stuff that they have here. And then, like I said, the fact that they, what's the word I want to use? They put stuff in it. A lot of people aren't encouraged by it. No, but
you mean GMOs?
But they're relying more on the international. They're relying more on the international sales of their product, and they're trying to sell They're trying to sell them to the poor countries.
Okay.
Because Europe, you all know it. Europe won't buy anything from farms over here.
Is that because of GMOs? The genetic?
Yep, GMOs.
Okay.
All the issues that right. You remember the mad cow disease?
Yes.
Did you know what that was?
Nope.
They were taking, I guess, dead cows, grind them up, and put them in the food for the
live cows.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that was
wow.
US. Yeah.
Wow.
They're taking, grind, and that's why, like what I don't want to say with dog food, but a lot of times they take stuff and they just sort of kind of, but I think because they wanted to have some kind of protein thing, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So America's producing things that European nations won't purchase, and they're trying because of what they put in it, and they want to sell that stuff to poor third world or developing nations.
Right. They can't.
Wow.
Right. I mean, Europe, they won't buy it because they know that they're not organic and sustainable products over here. They know that these corporations are, tampering with stuff and trying to make it this and that. So they don't want it there. Yeah. So the next market is the poor markets, the Caribbean, South America, wherever in Africa, wherever it was, where they're trying to get. Now they're trying to sell stuff. Another quick side piece, like I was sharing with you, when Trump put that tariff on products to China, USDA quickly tried to find new markets for farmers. Now, I don't know if I share with you, I'm doing work for people in Angola. Well, Angola has been on the U.S. Bad list because Angola supports Cuba. So the U.S. wouldn't do any trade with it.
Right.
Well, they set up a trade thing for the agriculture for these farmers to go down there to try to sell their product. And I'm, and actually I got invited. I applied to go because I was going to go for a different reason. But I don't know what happened on that particular thing. But I don't think they sold anything down. But they went to Angola, South America, South Africa. They went pretty much covered the whole continent. Okay. USDA's job is to get those products for American farms sold.
Right.
And I'm saying, and if we're not, again, places like that, they're not conscious of what's going on. But I think Africa is not. I think they're kind of aware too as well. But that's what I'm saying. We doctored up all the food over here to make it grow quicker, to avoid all the pests, to avoid the bugs and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you sort of ruined the value of the product as it was. Right. It's not a natural product anymore. And of course, when we get that stuff, our people are having all kinds of different kinds of effects and disease and all that kind of stuff. Sure. I gotta tell people, when I was a kid, I never heard of peanut allergy.
Yeah, neither did I. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, but I think that's because when they started putting the GMOs in peanuts to make them grow whatever, I think that's what happened. That's in my opinion. But I'm just saying, so and that's why when I talk about the big industrial complex, those are the kind of things that people who are aware of food and stuff, that's why they want to avoid those. And that's why when you talk about a local farmer, pretty much you can go see what he's doing, and most of them do have regular normal practice or traditional practices. That's why people will support their farmer in a minute. Okay. But that small farmer is not in the old network, and that's been the problem. Yeah.
But that farmer not being in the old network, that sounds like a good thing.
Yeah. For us, it's a great. That's what I'm saying. That's why we're trying to get our infrastructure for our system in place. Right. Because we've already done our homework. We see who's out there, and you would be amazed of the reaction I got from small white farmers who are not in the system, who are growing products that we want, and we talk to them about trying to get their products. You will be.
Is it good or bad reaction?
Oh, they were excited.
Yeah,
excited
because it's an outlet for them.
Yeah, because their own people, like these other markets, because they're not big enough, won't talk to them.
Yeah. Okay.
What we're saying is, what we're saying, no, we're gonna get our stuff in first. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if they're growing products that we don't have,
sure,
we need,
sure,
we're gonna stab in the lamb for some of them. But
yeah,
they, again, we just have a dialogue from small farmer. The thing is, you got to kind of work together.
Sure. So can Black people or do Black people have the capacity to replace the current system or create an equivalent system by which, you know, I'm often talking about our vision, our goal. A part of what we're trying to do is creating a closed loop agricultural ecosystem by which we can move food from the Black farmer's farm to the Black family's plate. And I'm pretty sure I heard you a year plus ago tell me that Black people have the pieces to this system. We're just not connecting those pieces. I think you told me that agriculture is the only billion-dollar entity or industry that Black people have all the pieces for. We're just not on the same page. Is that correct?
I would say we have most of the pieces. Maybe not processing because we haven't had enough people to try to process.
Okay.
But if we got everybody together, which is what I'm trying to do, we will have.
Right.
To answer your question, don't spend the time trying to replace the system. The system is what it is because we don't control that. Okay. We can just create our own system under that system.
Under that system.
Yeah. And the reason I say that, if we're small, they're not gonna. We're gonna be ignored. They're not gonna bother us. So we'll be able to create our own system, feeding our people. That's right. Without a problem. Okay. It's only when they recognize their numbers that our people are not driving 10 miles to the store anymore because they got a local store in the neighborhood. That's when they're gonna start looking to see they're not getting those numbers. But that's assuming we've gotten our people to understand to support each other. Yeah. So how do you prepare for that inevitability? If you know your goal, if you know your end game is to feed your own people, but you also know that at some point somebody's going to take notice to that. How do you prepare for that inevitability? Well, like I said, I think we're looking at it a day at a time. Okay. I think once we put certain pieces in place, and again, as long as we don't really try to step into their markets, to not, again, and there's enough space out here for everybody, really. Okay. I don't think that would be a problem. I don't think even if we create the system itself, that the big corporations won't be worried about us. It's more I think the local political, stuff for people like that that'll have a problem with it. But keep in mind, like I said, if we're feeding our people and we built the capacity of all our farmers, then also, in a sense, that's why I say it's politically, if you do support some white farm, small white farm, not a small white farm. Sure. Because if they're not gonna want to mess with them.
Because they're white. Yeah, so it's all about understanding how to play the game. Yeah, sure.
Right, and some of them will stand up too, help step up with you when somebody tries to get into that place. Because keep in mind, I want to feed our people, but if other people want to buy from us too, I don't have any problem.
Oh yeah, it's a business. Okay, so you talked about having some of the pieces to build under the current system. What are some of those pieces?
No. Again, and I'm going back to the philosophy I told you about engineering. One thing you do is you got to identify what's out there, who's doing what. Okay. And the biggest problem right now, we don't have any kind of infrastructure in place with what we're trying to do. Okay. But I can tell you right now, you can go to any of these major corporations, you'll find a brother in there. There's an engineer or whatever it is for these corporations. Yep. That are doing stuff that if they found out we had a system in place and it was solid and they felt comfortable, that they would bring that expertise down to help that system. Okay. But we have to show them that it's actually working. And we got to show them. They have to see that it's actually working, and they have to see that we have a network in place. And then also, again, I use the term, we want the conscious brothers anyway.
Sure, but always.
Yeah, sure. Well, because if people are going to be confused, if they see themselves, they see an opportunity to do this, but they may be afraid or whatever it is to, because they're going to, as an individual, people got to figure out what they want to do. But I really know that a lot of people that the expertise is out there. We can find it. Okay. I was just talking to a friend of mine whose nephew works for what's the big Snapple. Okay. He's like a big time guy at Snapple. I'm just saying. So they're getting experience in the whole food thing. All they gotta do is see that we're out there, and then at the same time, as we try to educate our people, we need to send them to our schools so these colleges and professors will know we're out there.
Right.
And then we can get those children, those kids to get exposed to see what we're doing, whether it's through internships or, just tours or whatever.
Yeah.
If they see us doing this stuff, they'll be more inclined to want to do it.
Right. And will that kind of activity take place at the food hub?
Food hub, the distribution, the farm outlet, the farm stands, the farms, all of it. Because we really want people to see everything.
Right. You want people to see the whole operation as much as possible.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't know if I share with you, we right now are negotiating a partnership with on the 1890s, the Historic Black Institution, to work with us and to work with them in Michigan, Ohio. They need people who have expertise in this whole farm food system to help them find farmers down there. What we really just need from them is some of the resources they're getting, you know what I'm saying, to help to do some of the work. So to me, it's going to be a win-win.
Okay.
I guess. So again, like I said, the pieces are coming together slowly. Okay. Little by little, and some people looking at it on the outside can't see it. Yeah. But me, infrastructure working going in, I see it coming together, and that's why I go back to say we want to do Detroit. As soon as we get a piece of it, I'm ready to come to Houston. Since you guys are already talking, and I'm saying it's already in your mind. Yep. You want to do this to make it easy. Oh, and by the way, I just met a guy that's retired from Prairie View, and I was talking to him this the other day. We're supposed to be communicating. So anyway,
oh wow, okay, cool. Okay, so if for those who didn't catch the beginning of the show, let me say that it happens. Yeah, and we had it happens that people come in the middle and they're like, "What are you guys talking about?" So I have to say this part just in case. So if you missed the beginning of the show, you're listening to the podcast "How to Build a Black Nation with Power," where we seek to understand and bring together the many pieces of our empowerment and freedom puzzle under one unified roof, to ensure we don't become a permanent underclass in a country that was built on the backs of our ancestors. So we want to take into consideration what our people have done and what our people are currently doing to ensure that we're not starting from square one. So tonight's episode is our third episode, and our guest is Brother Cary Jr., the Black Gold Nation's National Director for Agriculture and Food Systems, as well as our National Director for Infrastructure and Construction. So, Brother Cary, next question. The USDA. So they have not been the best ally and our friend to the Black farmer. So what is the state of that relationship now? And as it relates to what you just said about the micro processing centers, it sounds good to say that we need to have to get money from the USDA grant, sponsorship, whatever. But historically speaking, the USDA has not been a friend to the Black farmer. So what is that relationship like now, today? And
actually, honestly, it's probably about the same. Okay. You got to understand, see, the USDA is just this huge conglomerate. I mean, it's a huge conglomerate. Matter of fact, USDA is the second largest budget under the defense for our government. A lot of people didn't know that. So they have millions of dollars. The problem is on the USDA on the local level. When the USDA put an office in, a state office, the state office have to have maybe county office. And what's happened over the years, the county offices always hired, you know how it is, the people hire their friends, good old buddies, and that sort. So it's the same attitude, whatever it is, it's been there, it's still there. So the problems that happen because you have to come in through that local level to get anything on a national level. But if they block you on a local level, you know what I'm saying, that's what the problem is. Right. So we got the problem. They got to go and identify these individuals. And let me clarify. USDA has 25 agencies. 4 of those agencies are the ones that typically would deal with that specific directly with Black farmers. The one that's the biggest problem is the farm service agency. They're the ones to give out all the loans. Okay, that's the one that's always been a problem.
Okay. So if it's always been a problem and it's still a problem, how do you get past that problem?
Well, no, they have to figure out how to address it on local. They have to figure out how to address it on a local level. They got to find a way. If you're in Washington D.C., you got tier layer 4 or 5 layers. They got to find a way to address that person who's sitting at the desk who may be a racist or whatever it is. But she's there because her uncle was there. And I'm saying her cousin was there. Yeah. They've been running stuff for years because what happens, they'll tell, they'll either discourage you or tell you certain things so they won't give you a loan. Then turn around and get a white guy to sign a piece of paper, you got it.
Right.
That's been the problem.
Yeah.
So they have to figure out how to address that at that local level. How they're gonna do it, I don't know. It's interesting. The guy at the top of that FSA now is actually the Native American. I had the fortune to meet him at the Native American conference, and that was one of the problems they had, on the Native American. So apparently he complained enough that he got appointed to run that department.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying. Again, we just had a meeting with. I was in the National Black Farmers Conference last week. That's what I was saying. So he addressed the thing and saying they're trying to make changes. Unfortunately, this stuff's not going to change overnight. Not in one year. And unfortunately, it may not even change in 4 to 8 years.
Right.
It's going to take time. But I guess the whole idea is to figure out how do you address it. Where I come in is because I have a relationship on the national level, and I understand what the problem has been. We know now if we work with a group of farmers for like what we're trying to say, we go to Houston trying to do something.
Yeah.
And I tell you, this is what's supposed to happen. If they don't do that, then we can come down there, and we can challenge whether we'll put them in that spot. We can make some phone calls and make sure that stuff can happen. But then that person needs to be, documented, identified as somebody who's been causing problems.
Mm-hmm.
And see, those folks always take care of each other. So that's the thing you got to figure out how to address that.
So if a national agricultural network that's owned and not controlled by Black people, if that is the vision or the goal, even if we have some white farmers a part of that network, if segments of the USDA are needed to make that network a reality, but the USDA has not been friendly to the Black farmer, is that network possible?
Yes, because by the time when we decide to recognize or organize in those particular areas, we're going to make sure everything is going to be possible.
Okay,
we're going to come down there. We're going to come down with that group of farmers, and that's why it's important to be a collective.
Right.
Group of farmers to go down there. We can have a personal meeting with them. And if I need to call the people I know in the national office level to call in on the call, they'll do it.
Okay.
Okay.
So all of it goes back to politics and relationships.
Yep.
Yeah. For sure.
It is.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So your expertise per agriculture is more on a national level. What is your perspective? I know you talked earlier about the urban, you say urban farmer, right? Not gardener, you say urban farmer, right? Urban farmer. Okay, so what is your perspective on the urban farmer as it relates to creating this national network?
Well, I'll go back to what you mentioned, the garden, because my thing is, first of all, that urban garden, to me, it's essential, because what that urban garden could be the first learning tool for our people, our children, to understand where their food came from.
Okay.
So they can learn how it grows in the ground, they can pick it and eat it, that kind of thing. Now, again, and I'm a segue in, and that's pretty much, there's been a ton of money out for you to do urban garden.
Okay.
But my thing is, you need to think about an urban farm. An urban garden, you grow stuff to give away or to feed yourself.
Small scale.
An urban farm, you're growing stuff so you can sell in the market.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So it's like a stepping stone or a process.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, so you start with a garden, you work your way up to an urban farm, and then if you say you have an individual start learning from her, they create a garden. Now they do a farm. Now they see they can make money. So now the idea is going to be, well, I got a half acre here in the city. Maybe if I go in a rural area with 30, I can do 30 times. So we get that person wanting to jump up and do a rural farm. I'm saying to do 2 or 3 times as much of whatever that product is. So now you got the farm piece going. Now we have to create the harvest processing distribution facility. So when they get their products, stuff can be processed, whatever it is, and then you need the outlets from there, whether somebody buying it from you or you creating retail outlets yourself with other people to get into the neighborhood.
At what point do you realize that a hub? I want you to explain what a hub is, and then I want you to tell me at what point do you realize you need a hub, or are you always trying to get the hub to do everything else? What is the process?
Well, the hub is the new term being used, but it's really the distribution processing center.
Okay.
You know, it's when a farmer you got aggregation. When they get the stuff, harvest the stuff in the ground, you got to take it to a place where it gets sorted and washed out, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Then you got to, if you're gonna, then you got to chop it up and package it, or chop it up, package it, and freeze it, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you got to put it in a freezer until you can move it somewhere, or you got to, or take it, to the load on trucks and sent to a store. So that's what that hub does. That stuff in the mill.
Gotcha. Okay.
All the stuff in the mill. Now, but you can also, in that hub, you create other stuff. You create maybe options for incubator farm. Say somebody who want to create their own chili mix or something.
Mm-hmm.
They work with group. You create options, and somebody want to do a pasta, tomato sauce. Somebody want to do a barbecue sauce. You create space for businesses like that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they have to be buying their product from you that's coming to the farmers, so they can process and make whatever product they want to make, package it, box it, and sell it. And ship it out to stores. So you can make an incubator space out of it as well for small farms. And there's a ton of other little odds and ends things you can do with a hub, because you want that hub to be sustainable itself. You want not only, you want to be able to make money, or at least be able to sustain itself as you create these products.
Right. So Ken, and I per what you just said, I think I already got the answer, but it's on my list. I'm gonna ask anyway. So can urban gardening and farming working together move the Black needle forward toward food security for Black communities? Those two entities.
I wouldn't say the urban garden. I'd say the farm, if it's like I mentioned before, if it's like an indoor facility that's figure out how to create great production. Mm-hmm. But I still think you're gonna need the rural. You're still gonna need a rural farm, and again, you're still gonna need livestock. Okay. So you're still gonna need. I think it'll be a balance. You're gonna need a balance of both. Okay. I think with today's day and today's youth, I think if you start off with the whole urban farm concept, and they learn all the new innovative techniques and growing stuff, mm-hmm. and I already tell you right now, parallel y'all, that they probably already do anyway in the whole cannabis field, because really it's the same thing, and that's the only issue we gotta have. That we gotta people understand. Boys, you'd be better off trying to grow food than trying to grow, But I'll leave that topic alone. But that's gonna be a challenge. But it's the same concept on both sides. Okay. One thing you growing food to feed the neighborhood community. The other one you're trying to get the community, whatever you want to call it.
Gotcha. Okay, so what is the greatest enemy or threat to food security per Black communities from your perspective? What do you think the greatest enemy or threat is to food security for our people, our community?
Well, I'll be honest. I think it's ourselves, because it's where we buy our products from. And what I mean by that is, I'll add to it, the corporations themselves, the ability of corporations to make their profit on us, but not even have a facility in our community where they can hire people in our community. That's where the threat. That's been the problem all the time. Okay. And I use the term Walmart, like in Detroit. There's not one Walmart in Detroit, but Walmart sends buses to the senior complexes every week for them to go out in the suburbs to shop. Right. As opposed to building a Walmart neighborhood in the city. Sure. So my thing is, we have to realize and not support that store out in the suburbs. I know we need essential goods. Yeah. I said, that's why I say we want to be the alternative, provide at least some of the basics of what you need, so you don't have to run to Walmart all the time. Sure. But I'm saying, but until we can get that balance, we figure out how to bring stuff back where we don't have to rely on someone like that. Right. That's gonna be a problem. Again, spend our money with ourselves. Yeah. And allow these corporations who get all the tax breaks and everything else. Right. USDA, whoever else, but they don't make that effort to buy from Black farmers, buy from Black vendors, small businesses, anything, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, but that's only going to happen if we kind of make it happen ourselves. It's not some civil rights, talking about boycott. To me, that's that. Right. Sure. Yeah. Well, these days they get paid. These days they get paid off anyway, but that's another story. But so it's like everything else. It goes back to the way we think, because how we think drives our behavior. Yes. Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. And we'll have 2 questions left, so we're doing pretty good. So and I try to keep the interviews to 1 hour, so we're doing pretty good. So and so speaking of enemies and threats, you know as well as I do that when it comes to
us doing anything to move ourselves forward, those efforts are always targeted for destruction. So with that in mind, how can we build our own agricultural systems and or networks and protect them before the building, during the building, and after the building? How do we protect what we grow and what we're trying to build? Because it's always going to be targeted.
Yeah, well, I'll go back and I'll say we still want to build it quietly under the radar. I mean, I'm not saying people don't know we're there, but you don't have to go out there and make a big issue of it.
Make
get
no
on
waves,
TV,
right? Yeah.
You get somebody, yeah, but you just kind of do a little bit. Or if it does get out there, if it does something get out, they want to do public, let it be on one piece of. Don't talk about the whole system. Just say, oh, these farmers are growing and doing this, and leave it at that. So they don't. Right.
Okay.
The other part, like I said, we got to recruit the best, I call it the brightest and the most conscious individuals.
Yeah.
So we can bring their knowledge and talent and expertise
mm-hmm.
From the corporate to jump down to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
So don't worry, eventually they'll come, because when they realize they read that glass ceiling, they'll never be vice president of the scene. They'll realize, it's time for me to go.
Sure.
And
sure.
By that time, hopefully we've got stuff in place.
Yep.
And like I said, and my thing is, as we move, what we do. My thing is, I'm always trying to make sure I got doors open. Whether I'm talking to people right from the education side, or people who on the buyer side.
Mm-hmm.
Because once they see what you're doing and they like what you're doing, and there's a lot of people that want to support what we're doing. But like I said, we've never had anything in capacity. That's why even on the white organization, well, hospital and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But we never had the capacity. And then the mindset is that, they'll never get together because they just got these two farmers trying to do something. But that's I'm gonna change all that. So
okay,
I want to help change all that.
Okay, all right. The last question that I have, as I like to ask Brother Craig when we end the Revolutionary Code on Thursdays, from tonight's interview, if you could only have one takeaway from tonight's interview, questions, answers, you only get one takeaway.
One.
Yeah, you only get one takeaway from tonight's interview that people will have with them for the rest of their lives, based on what we've discussed here tonight. You only get one takeaway. What would that one takeaway be as it relates to agriculture, food systems, food sovereignty? You only get one takeaway. What would that one thing be that you want people to have with them for the rest of their lives?
No, it's just that we can empower ourselves, succeed with ourselves with the food economy. Once we educate ourselves, and then educate ourselves on the healthy food part of it, but also, like I said, keep in mind the economic side of it. Again, we always got to eat, so people always going to buy food. And as long as we buy food, people understand the value of it, understand the meaning of it, the health part of it. That's pretty much, I think, where it is. If we target all our dollars toward ourselves, because you put the little piece in there, and I think that's how we'll be able to empower ourselves. But at the same time, you'll be eating healthy, because you're eating stuff that's best for you. Whatever. So,
cool.
I have some other stuff too, but I'll leave it right
there. Okay. I said one. You want to give three? So all right.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I want to break the records now. I don't want to break.
Well, FYI, Brother Cary, we will have another conversation that you are going to be a part of, because there's more things that we have to discuss, not just on the agricultural side, but also on the infrastructure and construction, which is another conversation. So don't worry, you will have a chance to come back in and give the other stuff as well. So really quickly, as we close out, I want everyone to know why this show, How to Build a Black Nation with Power, and brothers and sisters like Brother Cary Jr. are so important. We are trying to get our people to realize that there are many, many, many things that we can do to move ourselves forward as it relates to being safe, being whole, fixing what has been broken, and protecting ourselves against a system that hasn't been friendly to us since we were introduced to the system. This is why we're having the Black Gold National Leadership Election every 4 years, because we understand, just like Brother Cary, we understand that there are brothers and sisters out here functioning, operating, moving and shaking at a very high level, who do care about Black people, who do want Black people to succeed. And they also have a demonstrated undying love and commitment to Black people. So if you have that expertise, or if you know someone who does, and you think you could lead a national effort in one of the many areas that we are targeting, we want you to be a part of the Black Gold Nation. We have identified 17 different areas by which Black people are being attacked or by which we are deficient. And of course, agribusiness and food sovereignty is just one area. So I'm sharing the flyer because I want people to know that the brother Carys of the world, they do exist. They do want to be a part, but of course he cannot do it by himself. We need other Black people who are serious about protecting Black people, about helping us mobilize and organize Black people, and people who are serious about ensuring Black people don't become a permanent underclass. So if you have expertise in any of these 17 areas or spaces, or if you know someone who does, and you're interested in leading a national department or division, or being a cabinet member, which means you would help a brother Cary do what he's trying to do, then we want you to go to the website, blackgoldnation.com, click on solutions, scroll down to national leadership election, and then read more about what we're doing in each of the different spaces. And if you think you are ready to make that happen, then nominate yourself or someone that you know, and you will hear from me, and then we will take it from there. So it's very important that we realize, as I always say, we are born into a war that we did not start. We are surrounded on every front, and we're 350 plus years behind on preparing to fight this war. We will never be able to, well, I shouldn't say never. It's going to be very, very, very difficult to build a Black nation with power if you don't have a strong foundation, if you don't have leadership that knows what they are doing as relates to the area of expertise by which we need them to do what we need them to do. And if we're not spiritually connected to one another in a higher power, it's simply not going to work. So that's why we do what we do. That's why we're interviewing Brother Cary Jr. And I venture to say the reason he is a part of Black Gold Nation is because he realizes the vision and the mission is important. We have a lot of work to do, but of course we can't do that if we don't have people who are willing to help us learn how to do that particular part. I had, I think, 18 questions for the brother, and I had already learned two major things at question number 2. So it was a very, very, very good interview. And again, like I said, I'm going to have him back. So, Brother Cary, before I close it out, do you have any closing comments or remarks you want to make?
No, just thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for what you do, man. Like I said, you're the one that keeps me motivated, want to make it happen. Like I said, there are many of us out. We just have to find them.
Amen.
You know, and we appreciate you take your leadership and taking this thing and trying to keep us going. But you know, we just got to keep at it. That's all. Like I said, it's not going to be easy. I'm going to keep moving. That's all. So like I said, I'm encouraged. Like I said, when working with you and what we're trying to do with Black Gold Nation. So let's do it.
Yeah, and when it comes to easy, that's never been our road. So it's always been difficult for us. But you know, I always say, if anybody can do it, Black people can do it, because God knows we've been through the fire and we've been tested
many times.
And we did not come out of the fire 100% whole, 100% healthy, but we did come out of it. And to me, that means that there's not, the only thing that can stop us is us. And if we choose not to be stopped, then we won't be stopped. So with that, again, brother, thank you very much for taking time out of your vacation to be on the podcast. I appreciate it. And I like to end all of my presentations with 2 things. I try to remind everybody to always remember that no one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And lastly, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the liberation, empowerment, freedom, and salvation of Black people. Because if Black people don't make it, the individual efforts that we're trying to make, no matter what we're trying to do, is not going to matter, because you will be a part of a people that have no power, and we can be wiped out. Those 2 questions are for this or after?
After.
Okay, all right. So on that note, thank you very much for watching. Please share the video, the podcast, with 5, 10, 15 Black people whom you think might be interested. And again, if you are interested in being a candidate for the national election, being a part of a cabinet for the national election, or you want to help us identify, vet, and find qualified people, then go to the website, send me your information, or you can just reply in the thread on Facebook, and we will take it from there. So with that, Brother Cary, again, thank you very much. God bless, and I will talk to you soon, bro. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Peace.